faraway land, there lived a little boy who loved to collect bugs, where he spent his childhood exploring the long grass, finding all kinds of weird and wonderful. He'd never have dreamed of how important his bug collecting would become. One day, this lonely little boy's adventure aspect of Satoshi's youth went well. He found it hard to concentrate, didn't get along with his teachers, and had a difficult time remembering that Satoshi was diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome, but at the time, his teachers simply thought he was lazy. Passion was video games. He would spend hours with his dedicated interest in video games. An arcade boss gave him a present, his very own Space Invaders cabinet, to understand them better. At one point, just for fun, Satoshi took apart his Nintendo Famicom to learn about how it worked. He focused on his love of video. Wasn't enough. He started working on his own fanzine, sharing all the secrets and tricks he picked up over his years of gaming. Satoshi put his heart and soul into the zine. The first issue was written entirely by hand and named his finished product Game Freak. The magazine found its way to a lot of young people who, like Satoshi, had a real passion for video games, telling him how much he loved Game Freak, and the two struck up a powerful friendship as they bonded over their love of gaming. The magazine, lending his artistic talents to give, soon got involved as well, as Game Freak expanded in size. The man who created Donkey Kong, the Mario, she had bigger dreams. He wanted to create his own games. After all, with the staff of Game Freak, he had a group or a couple of children playing on the new Game Boy handheld device. The pair were playing Tetris together, with a link cable connecting the two devices so that they could Satoshi saw a couple of children playing on the new Game Boy handheld device. The pair were playing Tetris together, with a link cable connecting the two devices so that they could battle against each other. He remembered the games he used to play as a child, collecting bugs and insects. He imagined two Game Boys connected by a link cable, with little bugs crawling down the wire. Imagine a game where players could collect and trade insects to build a digital bug collection. Gather a pitch for his new idea. With his excellent working relationship with Nintendo, he was sure that the company would jump at the chance to help with the development of this new title. He wasn't entirely convinced. Satoshi's game sounded incredibly ambitious, and the core concept felt unfocused and confusing. One person in the pitch meeting did think, suggesting that the company put their faith in Game Freak and give Satoshi a chance. Shigeru was given the task of working with Satoshi, refining his idea and creating something that would definitely work, as those executives had been right about Satoshi's idea. The game was incredibly complex and far too ambitious for the small studio. Very quickly the project began running into trouble. Game Freak simply didn't have the resources to create the game that Satoshi had in his mind. Without any new revenue coming in, there often wasn't even enough money for Satoshi to pay his staff for all their hard work. After months and months of work, key members of the team began coming to Satoshi, announcing that they needed to leave the team. After all, they had families to feed, worked long hours into the night, trying to smooth over bugs, fix issues, and build a working game. Ultimately though, Game Freak's finances dipped too low, and the toll on the company was the company would have to work on smaller, less ambitious titles that were more likely to turn a quick profit. And in spite of the failure of Satoshi's big project, Game Freak was able to bounce back. All through their development, Shigeru Miyamoto kept an eye on the company, and as the years passed, he gave them opportunities to work on key Nintendo brand named Yoshi's Egg, ended up being a huge hit. The title saw worldwide success as players in America fell in love with its addictive gameplay. The game brought in unprecedented revenue, giving Game Freak a boost of extra cash that Satoshi could invest in whatever he wanted. He knew exactly what to do with it. Even with more money to spend on the project, the idea was incredibly ambitious and far more complex than anything else Game Freak, the finished version of the game. It wasn't particularly pretty, and it had plenty of bugs and rough edges, but Satoshi loved it. Finally, after years of work, his pet project, even crossing over to the other continents as an entire generation became obsessed with trying to catch him. After decades of work, he'd not just made a successful company, he'd changed the world. Sure that whatever you do with your life, you spend it doing something that you love.